Welcome to Elevating the Culture, a podcast that explores the complex issues confronting Black men and the people who care about them.
This is the last episode of the season.
It is.
Yes.
It will be the last episode ever, really. Let's be
This
honest.
might be it. Welcome to Elevating the Culture. Gentlemen, we're back for another episode. Our things was good.
What's new, brother?
I was going to say it's good. This is the last episode of season 2.
Ooh.
In studio, in person, live in the flesh. And that in itself is dope. So
Maybe we should speak to that for a minute.
let's do it.
This has been a process. And I get a sense of accomplishment for finally completing the season. Challenges, struggles, scheduling issues.
Yeah. And like, honestly, like all of those things. And like, it's been a learning and growing curve for everybody too. Like, I feel like also, you know, and just knowing, you know, going back to when you and I first started having these conversations, this was like a new space for both of us, but a space that we felt like, you know, was an important space, one that we can elevate, you know, these conversations, amplify, you know, this initiative and this movement around mental health and wellness for other brothers and in the community. So,
Yes.
I'm glad that we were able to, you know, make it happen and be at the point we're at right now.
Yeah, man. I echo all of those sentiments. I would say most of the challenges really were a result of one person. But you know, we get. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Wait,
I just got joy in my heart today, that's all.
That's the spirit, brother. That's the spirit. But in all seriousness, yeah, like when I think about it, Russell said this before, like the energy in the room is always good when we're in person. And it is, and we just do what we do. And ultimately, it's like, why wouldn't we do it? Like, why wouldn't we get together and do this stuff and get on and talk for a few minutes about things that we think and also through our experience, we know that are important for brothers and of course, those who care about us to talk about. Why wouldn't we do it?
Birda.
If we engage in dialogue that adds any value
Right.
to anyone who is listening, we are elevating something and somebody, other Black men, women who love Black men, young people who are trying to understand, you know, what Black men navigate, all of those things. I'm just like, if we can engage in something that somebody can take something away of value, maybe it's a perspective, something that they haven't thought about, then we're elevating the culture. We're providing some type of value
For sure, bro.
in the form of a conversation.
Agreed.
Not to mention the development that we experience preparing and having these conversations.
Right.
Yes, sir.
We get more than we give.
100%.
Yes,
That's for sure. So, the topic today is racism. But we're looking at racism from a bit of a different perspective. Not about whether it exists or its various manifestations, but more about how we can respond. How do we cope? How do we insulate ourselves against the consequences of racism? I guess, what is your take and how are you responding and processing racism as it manifests itself?
There's so many ways that we could respond to that. So the thing that I think is important, and I'm just thinking about my own personal experience, is like the weight that you walk and carry yourself with because of racism.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like knowing that it you know, you already talked about, like, we're not here to debate whether or not it exists or the ways that it manifests, but like as a Black person, you carry an unseen weight as you move through the world each and every single day of your life, because that's something that you can't take off. And knowing that you have to show up in different places and spaces and this is, you know, very much alive is something that, like I said, comes along with a weight that you just have to carry. You don't have a choice.
Right.
You know? So for me, I just think about that. And then as you get older, you learn how to live with it and move with it and different things that you can do you know, whether that, if you want to say protect yourself or, you know, prepare yourself, you know, because you can't always protect yourself, but there's things that you can do to prepare yourself so that, like, hey, when I get in this situation, this is what I can do, or this is what I'm going to attempt to do. And I think that it's important to understand too, is that that's something that you consciously have to put energy into, you know? So like, I think that that's important for people to know and understand. And like the more that you prepare yourself, and like I said, you can have that kind of level of self-awareness where you're like thinking this through and you're reflecting on, what do I do? How do I handle this? There's things that you can do to kind of, like I said, prepare yourself to be in these places and spaces and maybe not be so reactive.
I think one of the ways that I try to deal with it and manage it, and this is through a lot of like reflections, through a lot of reading, it's through a lot of exposure to what, you know, various people have to say about racism in different ways, and its analysis. One thing, and I say this all the time, is, and I forget the brother's name, and he just passed, but it'll hopefully come to me before this podcast is over. That talks about racism as essentially, it's if you don't understand all the ways in which racism works, that anything else will only confuse you. So there is an expectation to understand all of the ways in which racism, which is really a system, impacts us. Now that's a burden, bro. And that is absolutely exhausting when you think about it in terms of, or it can be exhausting when you think about it in that way. How I try to flip it as much as possible in terms of health is about preparation. If I am constantly learning the ways in which racism works, then I feel that I have an opportunity to best prepare for the ways in which it comes at us in all the millions and billions and crazy and insidious ways it does. So from a health point of view, that's what I'm trying to do. Like, how is this working? The other thing, and I just read recently, it might have been Ibram X. Kendi, who has a lot of stuff out there in terms of anti-racism. I'm probably going to use some of his stuff actually in terms of some staff work I'm going to do with correctional services, right? But he made a good point that, you know, there is no non-racist, right? There's either racist or anti-racist. Like not, you know, ignoring or not being a part of it is not really an option. And typically I don't go by binary explanations of things or binary definitions. I'm like, man, there's not just extremes, there's things in the middle. But with this, I actually agree with him. It makes sense because if racism is a system, then really the ways in which you combat it, you have to be anti-racist and you have to understand the ways in which it works. And then you go from there. It'll look differently for different people, but we have to, this is my feeling, especially as Black people, as Black men, we have to understand that it is a system. It's not individual. It's not bigotry. Like what you individually think about me, I really don't care. That doesn't impact me. Now, when you have the power, right? When you have the power to impose that bigotry in terms of a system, in terms of laws, in terms of policies, in terms of rules, in terms of et cetera, then now that becomes my business. So at the same time, burden and daunting, but from a health point of view, there's a value, I think, in studying and trying to analyze and trying to understand it as best as possible, because the other option, not understanding it, then you are ill prepared or not prepared at all to be able to deal with it.
And I think that's maybe one of the issues that we're confronting in community is how are people being prepared? Are they being prepared or are they ill prepared to confront some of these situations or experiences that they're going to have? I like the idea of we're talking about preparing, but what does preparing look like? When we're talking about ourselves, it's self-reflection. You spoke to educating ourselves. When we're talking about the people that we care about, it's having candid conversations. How many young folks are prepared now to respond to racism within the various spaces and environments that they occupy?
Right.
Are those conversations still taking place around the dinner table at bedtime, in the car, the same way they were when we were growing up?
I don't know that they're happening as frequent as they used to. And I think part of that's just because of like technology, and there's so much at your fingertips. So when there's issues of racism, globally, like it's everywhere. So
Right.
I feel like some of the the parents or educators or whoever those adults might be don't feel as much pressure to confront it or to put it in front of the younger folks because it's already in front of them. I feel like there's more of like asking, did you see this?
Right.
And then we're now having a conversation about it as opposed to trying to teach them and have them understand it.
Well, absolutely. And the other part is, I mean, the education piece. And when we talk about education is broad. So
Absolutely.
we have countless scholars who have studied, the nuanced ways along with the broad ways in which racism works. Like, we have a responsibility to understand that. I don't care. You don't have to be a person that reads a lot. You don't have to read a million books. If that's not the tool to get the information, then use another tool. But it's important that you understand that information is out there, and there's always things to learn. Again, I come back to the idea or the reality that it's a system. So when you talk about the conversations happen around the table or wherever they happen, they can happen at any time in any place. And really, there's always a lens of racism in terms of how racism impacts that you can apply. Like, that's in our everyday lives, bro.
Right.
Like, we can break down racism in terms of from here to the front door out of this podcast in terms of the way things are and how things are set up and who's here and who's not and what are the rules and who created the rules and why that is, like all of those things. So that education piece in different ways all has to happen. And the other part, Jude, is even what you said, like you asked, how are those conversations, if those conversations are still happening? I would just say that is a healthy way to approach it in terms of just even acknowledging it and having the conversation. It's hard to manage it when you don't deal with it. It's like anything else. We wouldn't say you're dealing with this element of health by not addressing it.
Right.
We're saying that you have to address it. So it's no different with racism. You have to have, and yes, they're uncomfortable, and yes, they can be traumatic, and yes, they can be triggering. Yeah, is racism. It ain't a nice thing, but you risk being more unhealthy by not acknowledging, by dismissing, by avoiding. Ignoring.
You have to be preemptive with this as opposed to reactionary. Because if you are going to be sitting down having the conversation with your loved one after an incident takes place, right, you're dealing with the consequences now, right? We're talking about trying to mitigate some of the fallout from this. So folks are a little bit more prepared to manage these complex situations.
So I think that the more that we can do to like celebrate and just, honor and recognize all of that, that history, that heritage, that culture, and all of those things that make Black people as dope as they are, I think you're going to see younger people that are prepared, because they know themselves, they see themselves, and regardless of how, this interaction with this system or this institution, makes them feel, I still love myself.
Right. Right. Well, the strength, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, like that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we eventually were going to get there, like in terms of identity.
Yep.
That is, we've talked about it, like, immunities. Like, one of the ways that you can never be completely immune to racism in that way, but one of the things that you can protect yourself is you have to know who you are. I mean, one of the tenets about racism is that, you're supposed to be inferior. That's how everything is set up. You're set up to be inferior. You're set up to be bad. You're set up to be isolated. You're set up to be marginalized. You're set up to be disenfranchised. And so one of the things that is challenging, for the obvious reasons that it can be, but that we always have to keep in mind, and Jude, I'll use your word, and Russell, your word, intentional about, is constantly in this engagement of not just teaching young people, quote unquote, but ourselves who we are. I mean, I just said the other day, the reason, I think it was to the brothers in the institution, I said, all of these laws and rules and policies aren't put in place because they think you're weak and because they think you're dumb and they think that you don't have strength. It's the opposite. All those things are put in place because people actually know your strength. They actually know your potential. Other ways, they wouldn't have to put a system in place that disenfranchises you. You know what I'm saying? So there is value, a health value in understanding how smart you are. And we especially have to do it because we've talked about it countless times, the images and the messages we get that counter that, that tell us that we're not human, that tell us that we don't have wisdom and value and knowledge and understanding. We don't have beauty, that we're not unified. Like you have to constantly counter those messages. And this is the last thing I'll say. You know, we talked about at the beginning about joy, and I said working with young people. I'm also working with young people in a school. And I just finished reading this book that was, I think it's American based, but it really applies to Canada as well. And it was talking about formal, quote unquote, education with Indigenous people and Black people, right? And oh man, like I'm never going to forget this term. They talked about schools as race machines. Schools are race machines. I was like, ooh, that was like a mic drop. Like when I saw that on the page, I was like, okay, now I'm digging into this book. Like I was already into it, but we're going into, and so even though I have joy, I'm working in a space, and we know because we've all been students, that we're working in a race machine that is supposed to perpetuate what racism wants, right? And so part of the joy, other than working with young people, is that there's for me and for others that are like us, there's a purpose into constantly feeding them that identity so they can build up their immunity to what they're going to face for the rest of their lives.
Right.
And so our understanding of racism has grown and evolved. What's changed for you in terms of how you respond and process racism?
For me, what I would say has changed is like there's more, if you want to say resources, you know, like there's more, because we talk about, you know, culturally responsive, you know, that's a thing that a lot of organizations say that they do or that they practice, but like, you can't tell me what that is. I need to say that, yes, this is what this is, you know, it's providing this for me because I'm in need of it. You know, just saying that you do it or you offer it is not the same as making it available, you know? So there's more and more, like just even like, you know, some of the initiatives that we're all connected to or involved in, like that's a resource. That's a place where I can go and I can see other people that are navigating some of the same things that I'm navigating. We can share our experiences. We can share our wins, our losses, you know, the punches that we've taken and how we've responded to them. So for me, I would say that's what's changed for me. That's been the most significant, is that there is now places and spaces and people that I can go to, whether it's just me just saying, hey, this is what I'm going through and you can talk me through it. Or there's, you know, there's organizations and, you know, supports and resources that like can help you navigate it alongside you, you know? So we've not always been equipped like that in the past, you know, where it's like this happened to you. Yes, it sucks. You can either keep moving forward or you can let it break you. But now there is, like I said, there are some resources or supports. Like I said, there's a little bit of, I don't like using the term movement, but like there are people that are ready to mobilize. You know, if there's something that happens that's wrong, like, yo, let's make it, you know, let's make it known. Let's take it to the public. Let's, you know, do these things. And there's more of that. And I feel like that's something that allows you to deal with it. And also kind of like, you know, move beyond it.
See that word mobilize, that just put us right on somebody's list. You don't get revolutionary, brother. You gotta watch your language out here. It was mobilize. The people that shoulders went up, people got tight. You're like, what's going on over here? Elevating the culture took a revolutionary turn. But yeah, you're bang on. Dr. Umar Johnson talks about this a lot. Like again, people get caught up in the sensational things that he can say, and he's a super brilliant guy and a great speaker. But I always, that part's cool. But I always zone in on the part that he's actually talking about how we build. That's the part that really gets me. And to me, it always makes sense. Like How are we getting together and making sure that we have systems that are not one-offs, but that are consistent in terms of young people's identities and our identities, how we feel about ourselves and how we see each other, how we build all of the things that we need as human beings, right? In terms of politics and economics and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think those things give us opportunities to both see the victories and create victories. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how it has to be when you're confronting and battling racism. It has to be that, because one of the things that is its intention is for us to think that we can't win, that at the end of the day we always lose. And one thing about Afrocentricity, I say this all the time, is one of the fundamental principles about Afrocentricity is envisioning victory. If you can't see yourself winning, bro, then why are we
You already
doing this?
lost.
You already lost. You know what I'm saying?
Or that.
And one other thing that I want to add to that I think is important too, and it goes back to just what you touched on too, Malik, around like, you know, there's people that are upset just by our existence. And you talked about victories specifically, and I think it's important to acknowledge that those victories aren't possible if it wasn't for those before us.
100%.
You know, those unimaginable conditions that people had to endure so that we can now be where we are, I think, you know, is something that we have to make sure that we acknowledge. Like, you know, there's rooms, there's places, there's spaces, there's all of these things that we wouldn't even have the opportunity to even consider if it weren't for those that did what they did before us.
We have to acknowledge that and continue to have those conversations to ensure that young folks are fully aware of the sacrifices
Right.
and the accomplishments of the folks that came before.
Yeah, man.
So true. In terms of the question, I think the question was around what's changed, right? How you're experiencing it. I think that we talked about some of the resources that weren't there in the past that are there now, some of the work that's being done around identity and preparing.
He's saying you didn't answer the question.
Yeah. I think Russell did. I think Russell did, but you got lost in the sauce, brother. Yeah.
See, I knew it was going to come back to me.
It always comes back to you.
He come back to me. Okay. See?
But I think maybe something that we can all identify is that from stimulus to response, there's more thinking now, right? We have the ability to kind of respond differently. When we were 19, you know, under 30, and we're confronted with racism, many times it's emotion.
Yes.
It directs our response. Now I'm thinking we're more cerebral. At least we try to be more cerebral. Some of us are triggered more than others. That's one of the changes for me, is that I can process the situations a little bit better than in the past, when you might have just reacted
Right.
and done something physical, we'll say, that had consequences for you. Any other changes in terms of how you interpret, process, and respond to racism?
I believe that I spend less energy, and I try not to spend any energy at all on the individual elements of racism, like that individual response, because it's part of a bigger thing. Like, and that's an easy one. Like if an individual is interacting with me or responding to me or whatever the case may be, and there's you know, and it's racism, undertones, overtones, whatever you want to call, like that's an easy, that I can handle that relatively easy. And so a couple things. One is, and this is relatively new for me, like acknowledge, like, and this is another thing that we have to remember, and I think it's very important for Black people, and especially Black men. Like, it's like, you're the sick one. Like, I'm not the sick one. Like, if you believe in racism, like, I'm not, like, I'm good. That's your sickness. That's your illness. Now me acknowledging that or thinking that doesn't take racism away. That doesn't mean that the system disappears. But to me, there is a health benefit in understanding that, okay, like, even though it's set up for me to be the bad guy, I ain't the bad guy. Like, you're the bad guy.
Yes.
Right. So there's that element. And then again, moving beyond the individual stuff where we can get stuck in, I'm looking at the systemic part, bro. Like I'm looking at I'm coming back to the race machine that we call public schools. I don't got time to battle these individual teachers. I'm already assuming that even though they may be cool and they be nice and they may be cool with kids and we may have they're still part of this system that produces what it's intended to produce. So I got bigger fish to fry, bro. And then that circles back for me, it circles back to purpose, because that has a bigger impact on, I can check an individual. That's easy, right? But to actually put energy into combating the system, that's a much different, more challenging, more complex thing, but has way more value.
Right.
Go ahead, brother. Answer that.
So one of the things that I just wanted to touch on really quickly is that helps me and that has helped me is like, I love that I don't have to search so hard to find a place where we're being amplified or we're being celebrated, or I can see, Black people doing, amazing, phenomenal things. Like, because like I might go out into the world and have a negative experience, negative interaction, and then I'm just like sitting in it,
right?
And I don't know where to go to pick myself back up. But now, like it's at your fingertips. Like you can go on, whatever platform on social media. You can put on Netflix and you can put on whatever documentary or movie. You can watch stand-up comedy. Like there's all these different, opportunities for me to see, whether you want to call it Black excellence, Black artistry, or whatever those things are. And you can just, you can prop yourself in front of it. You can find it. You don't have to dig for it. You don't have to search for it. Cause I feel like, going back to like what we were talking about, like with identity and the educational piece, like when we were younger, it was so much harder to find it.
Yes.
You literally had to dig for it. You literally had to go out of your way for it. You would go to the library, to the bookstore and like, hey, do you have any Black literature? They're like, they would look at you like, why do you want that? And
over there in that corner.
Right. Exactly.
A couple books.
Take the dust off them and they're back there. But like, that's one thing that I find for me is like, you can find representation. You can go and see yourself or a reflection of you.
Yes.
And to me, that is a critical part of it.
Yes, brother. It's all there for you. There's no reason now. There's no excuse now. There's always a reason for something, but there's really no excuse. You can get what you want.
Yeah.
You could find the literature, you could find the visual, you could find the history, you could find the program, you could find all that.
And I don't know if you're getting ready to segue yet, but there's something that I want to throw out too that I think is important.
He don't even remember asking the questions. Are you talking to Z ready to segue? Like, brother, it's just off the cuff with him. But anyway, go ahead.
So, I think it's important. Like I am in a position with, work that I do where I do some training around, anti-Black racism, anti-racism training. And one of the, the terms that is often used when we're talking about being inclusive is allyship. Being an ally. And you don't have to agree with me, but when I'm having these conversations, what I try to encourage, the audience that I'm engaging around these topics is like, I want to be around more people that take it a step further. Cause for me, like allyship is a little too fluffy for me, cause like a lot of times, like I think about allyship is like, I'm having, an experience that shouldn't have happened. And then here comes the ally after it's over, patting me on my shoulder saying, I'm sorry you had to go through that. Like I feel like there's people that view allyship like that.
It's almost like he's talking about something specific.
But
I almost think he's not just making it up hypothetically. It's almost like it actually happened. Because it's happened to all of us.
But like,
get off me. I don't need no ally.
What I want people to think about is like an accomplice. Look at it as an accomplice, because you have to risk something. You have to have a stake in it. And an ally, I feel like I said, it's too fluffy. It's optional.
Right.
Whereas an accomplice is like, nope, I'm doing this because it's the right thing and there's never a wrong time to do the right thing.
Right.
So an accomplice, you have to put skin in the game. Like, even, when you look at like a legal, definition of an accomplice is like, you were with me when I did something,
Right.
And I think of this as the same way,
That's a great point.
Get involved, be a part of this, be a participant, be an active participant, not somebody that's just observing. What do they call it? The like a bystander.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of allies that are really just bystanders. So
true.
for me, I just want people to think about that. Like, I want an accomplice. I want somebody that's willing to risk something. And what you're risking might be being ostracized at work. You know, y'all been treating these people this way for too damn long. It needs to stop. And if you need to ostracize me, that's okay. But I'm willing to risk that to do the right thing.
And credit to actually at last year's anti-racism conference that I spoke at. Shout out to Megan Neves. She actually helped me shift my thinking in terms of allyship, because Megan actually said, like, y'all are looking at it the wrong way. And I didn't think about it. She's like, you know, you expect black people and you're going to be black people's allies. Black people are supposed to be your allies. Like, you're supposed to do the work. Like, she was like, and Megan identifies as white. So she's like, I'm supposed to do the work. And then, like, we're the ones that did it. So it's not, now we're saying the victims of racism now have to be, hold the burdens to do the work. And I was like, oh yeah, she's right. So that actually shifted my thinking. I'm like, so I'm the ally in the work. Like, you do the work. You know what I'm saying? I need John Brown on my side. I need the old school John Brown, like, you know what I mean? With that musket out the window, like,
The musket.
metaphorically speaking, people, because, you know, Russell already talked about mobilizing. Now I'm talking about muskets. I don't want anybody to think that this is going in a, you know, a violent revolutionary direction. Absolutely not. We're peaceful people.
But both of those are coming back to kind of education, understanding the structures and consequences of racism, understanding our roles in deconstructing racism.
Right.
So that's critically important. You made the reference to understanding that this is a system. So it's having that kind of high level understanding that there are structures at work that manifest themselves in individual acts of racism, but that they're part of a larger overarching kind of system. Well, right? Jeez.
Racism, boy.
I can breathe.
I know. Listen.
Let's shift now to rapid fire.
Yeah, let's shift gears. What you got for rapid fire?
So I'm going to try to, and not that it's heavy, but I'm going to try to stay somewhat close
Balance.
to the
You can
the
never
topic.
just ask the question.
So if you could choose right now, what is more important? Would you choose cultural preservation or cultural evolution?
Oh man, that's it, bro. Nice one. Got me stumped. Cultural preservation.
I'll start.
Cultural. Go ahead.
I'll start and take this. I'll go cultural history.
Wasn't even an option.
Take that right off the table for you, brother.
Wasn't even an option.
You grow and evolve. Move outside your comfort zone, man.
It's a whole new answer. Do you like red or green? I like blue. Blue. How about that?
Cultural history. I'm going cultural history because we need to know where we came from. And I think that's a challenge for us now. With the new realities that we're confronted with, it's easier to lose that connection to the past. So I'm going to go history.
I'll say cultural preservation. I just feel that there's so much beauty in who we are and what we have over hundreds of thousands of years, let's be honest, in terms of modern human beings. So I just think the more you go back, and to your point about cultural history, you know, who we are and what we do and how we evolve, I'm just like, it's all there for us, bro. Like, it's all right there.
And y'all might be surprised, but I'm actually going to agree with Malik on this one.
Yes.
And so I would say cultural preservation for me too. And like, because I just think about, especially like in Nova Scotian context.
Yes.
Like, I feel like they've tried to take so much away from us.
Yeah, man.
You know, with expropriation and just, you know, the things that they've done to us systemically over the time, you know, over 400 years of history. I think trying to preserve as much of that as we can, I think is a priority. So cultural preservation for
On
me.
the other side, though, too, that cultural evolution and what that looks like. What is it going to mean to be a African Nova Scotian or a Black man in the future?
Right.
That's really intriguing for me. That's something that I'm struggling with. I think that many folks are struggling with, and conversations that need to be had. We need to be starting to consider and envision what that looks like.
Right.
We can help shape that.
For sure.
You struggling? You don't know who you are?
Most days I do.
Okay.
Most days I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Most days.
Don't worry about me. How
most
about
days-
that? Don't worry about me. That's your problem.
Most days I know who you are too.
I keep telling you that. Don't worry about
All
me.
right. Okay. So rapid fire. Here's one, since we're talking about racism. If there's anybody you could punch in the mouth right now,
Wow.
the number one person that you could name names that you could. I don't know. I'm just joking.
Anybody in the group?
I'm just joking.
Can we name our co-hosts?
But that wouldn't be a result of racism. That's just personal. That's just individual beef. No, I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't have a rapid fire. I don't have anything. Racism took it out of me. I don't have any rapid fire.
I mean, I'm gonna just say I might throw one at Donald Trump.
No, that's easy. Donald Trump would kick your ass, man. He's about 6'3".
He's in a diaper, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's punching down on you, hit you in your chin, knock you out.
Right. All right.
Russell really answered the question. Oh man, you guys are comical.
So, almost through the episode. What is elevating you, or what is something that you can point to that can help elevate the culture?
What's elevating me right now?
I already know my answer, but I'm gonna let y'all go first.
No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
So, and Black Adam will appreciate this. So, recently, February 6th, J. Cole dropped
Oh yeah.
his double album, The Fall Off. And just even beyond the music. So the music has been something that I've really enjoyed listening to. Just seeing somebody be able to, put out a body of work like that with that much depth, to me, is something that we don't see a lot of, in this musical climate that we're in right now. So I love that. But just like I just think about like all of the things that we talk about on this podcast, on this platform, and I just admire somebody that's been able to navigate that industry the way that he has and still stay true to himself. Like even in moving through it, he lost himself along the way, but he was able to bring himself back, and do it in a way that is, in alignment with who he is and what his values are,
Right.
and what's integral to him, and to still have that intact at this point in his career, at this stage of his career, with the amount of success that he's had. So I got all the time in the world for J. Cole, what he stands for,
Yeah.
and his body of work.
Grown folks hip hop. That's what I was thinking when I heard that. I'm like, when you're still good and it's still, but it's grown. It's
Yeah.
like you can't do the stuff when you're 20. You're older now. It's like it's still hot, but it's grown and it's grown. Like
Yeah.
that's I'm like, yeah. And I was like, anybody can like this album. Was elevating me, and especially after this, like it's a combination of all the things we've been kind of talking about. And ultimately what is elevating me is, in spite of whatever challenges in front of us, that we find joy in it. We can still laugh. We can still joke. We can still go to work and have impact. We can still try to serve community as best as we can. With all of the things that go on, that elevates me, that we're like, we talk about these challenges and we talk about these issues and we talk about these problems. And then we're like, okay, let's regroup. Let's decompress. Let's pause. Let's do whatever we have to do. Let's reflect. And then let's be better and have joy doing it. That elevates me, man. That elevates me.
I love that, brother. I'm going to say this podcast, and not just the podcast, but the conversations that we have prior to recording, after recording, and through the group text. because
People, you have no idea. You have no idea.
those texts sometimes are providing us with laughs. Sometimes they're providing us with inspiration.
Mm.
Sometimes they're providing us with support.
Mm-hmm.
And as we close the final episode of the season, I want to say thank you for everybody who's been part of this and for this journey that we're taking together.
Yeah, man.
This has been pretty dope.
Yes.
We're
That's what's up.
Yeah. Couldn't say it better.
cool. So, as always, give a shout out to Black Adam,
Black Adam,
putting things together for us.
the one and only.
Wrapping up season 2 now. Any final thoughts?
I mean, for anyone who has listened or who has watched, we just thank you. This podcast, this journey, it was never about any one person.
Right.
It's really just about creating something, like I said, that, somebody might grab onto and take something from, or just
Right.
have an aha moment or a head nod and just be like, yep. So for anyone who has listened, who has reposted or shared,
Mhm.
liked, done any of those things, we humbly appreciate the love and the support. And I'm grateful to be able to do it alongside two good brothers that are doing a lot of things in their own rights, but have committed to this, and here we are.
Yes, sir. And I'll just add to that, continue these conversations, folks. You know what I mean? They're not exclusive. Like, the whole purpose is, have them, have fun with them, be serious, make them long, make them short, get some brothers together, do whatever you got to do. Continue these conversations, bro. There's health benefits and there's joy in it. And ultimately, there's just joy in us getting together and sharing space.
That's it. Elevating the culture. Peace out.
Season 2.
All right, people.